Hi, it's 116 Pigeon website. My name is Ruby in Haowen. Today's subject is treatment and prevention. We are here in Belgium, West Flanders, visiting Dr. Wim
Hello, I'm pigeon veterinarian Wim Bodaert, and I'm graduated from the University of Ghent in 1994, so I do it already, let's say, for 27 years.
Then have you done any other job too or before?
In the beginning, when I was started with working in '94, I start my practice here as a pigeon doctor, but I also do some dogs and cats in the practice. But then after a few years, I only do pigeons, and I'm also working together in cooperation with the company Verzelaga, which make products and grains for pigeons especially.
How do normally Belgian fencers do for the prevention for the pigeon before and middle of the racing and after racing?
So let's say before breeding season is starting, 6-7 weeks before the breeding season starting, they come here to make an examination of the pigeons to see if everything is okay, if their healthy situation is okay, if there are no diseases. And also in a lot of cases they give a preventively treatment for salmonella, for paratyphus, 6 weeks before coupling up, and then a few days later they vaccinate them for paratyphus, their breeders. Also very important with the breeding pigeons is to vaccinate the breeding pigeons, let's say 3 weeks before coupling up, because if we're vaccinating them then for paramyxovirus, the pigeons are giving antibodies through the eggs to their babies, to the young pigeons when they are in the nest. So which means that the young pigeons are already a little bit protected when they are hatching out of the egg, and then they are protected already a little bit against paramyxovirus. And also, in my opinion, important is that you are sure that the parent pigeons, the old pigeons, during the breeding are free of trichomoniasis. So that's the reason that we treat them always for trichomoniasis when they are sitting on eggs, so that the babies are not infected with trichomoniasis, because otherwise young pigeons of 2-3 days old, if they're not growing very well, then it could be in a lot of cases because of trichomoniasis infection.
Then after weaning?
So when the youngsters are weaning, after 1 week they are weaned, we vaccinate them with a combination vaccine against rotavirus and paramyxovirus, and we have to do the second, the booster vaccination 3 weeks later. And between those two vaccinations we normally vaccinate them for pox virus with Diftovac pox. And then also very important is that at the same moment, in the same period, we vaccinate the racing birds, the old birds and the yearling birds also for paramyxovirus and pox virus together.
Then to the racing season start?
So when the racing season is starting, the fanciers are coming, let's say 5-6 weeks before starting up the racing season with their pigeons to be sure that they are in good condition, that they have no diseases, that they are 100% healthy. And then also very common, a lot of fanciers, the racing team with old birds and yearling birds, they give them a treatment of 10 days for paratyphus, and after the treatment they vaccinate them for paratyphus. And also in Belgium it is necessary that every pigeon is vaccinated for paramyxo by the veterinarian before the racing season is starting. So we have to go to the big lofts to vaccinate the pigeons ourselves, and the smaller fanciers, they come to the practice with the birds to vaccinate them before racing season for paramyxo. And then once the racing season is starting, in a lot of cases the fanciers are coming very regularly, let's say every 2-3 weeks to the practice to look if pigeons are healthy, if the situation is good, and to make a racing plan to build them up against for the bigger races and for the national and international races.
Then how do you charge for the fencers to come?
So fanciers, they have to pay for a consult if they come. Of course, it's depending if they only have 2 pigeons with them, or if they have 20 pigeons with them to examinate. If they have 20, they pay a bigger consult. And then also for the vaccination, they have to pay per pigeon for vaccine.
Then as a professional, how do you prepare your breeders before breeding?
So before coupling up, let's say also 6-7 weeks before start of breeding season, I give my breeders a treatment for paratyphus during 10 days, and then afterwards I vaccinate them for paratyphus. And then, as I explained already, 3 weeks before coupling up, I vaccinate them for paramyxovirus, because then the old birds, the parent pigeons, are giving the antibodies to the young birds while they are sitting in the nest. And then also, very important in my opinion, to prepare your breeders is to make or to create a summertime. So to put the light on in the winter time, that the day is longer, and that they're coming in summertime, and that they're thinking that it is the time and the period to breed and to pair up. And then also I give them a supplement of vitamin E, so I use Fertiol, which is wheat germ oil with some extra vitamin E to fertilize better the eggs, and to be sure that the breeding is going perfectly.
Then any other supplements you will use?
During the breeding period, the pigeons are getting 2-3 times in a week Omniform or Formix, which are 2 multivitamins and amino acid complexes. They get it in the drinking water. Of course, my pigeon birds, my breeding pigeons, getting also the Plus IC mixtures, which is a grain mixture with an extruded pellet in it. So, and in the extruded pellet, there is the right content of proteins, amino acids, minerals, vitamins. It's also in the pellet. So they get every day that mixture, and also they get a supplement of all-in-one, which is a mixture with some grit, some egg food, some vita minerals in it. Everything is in it. So after the race, the recuperation of the pigeons when they return back from a heavy flight, I say always pigeon sport, and at that moment you have to think logically, which means that pigeons have flown for 10-12 hours, so they have to rebuild their body up. So they need, at that moment, they need proteins, they need amino acids. So that's the reason that we are giving at that moment a Hemolyt 40, a product which is containing 40% of animal proteins. And animal proteins are taking up in the body very quickly. This is the difference between animal proteins and vegetal proteins. If you're using vegetal proteins, it takes minimum 1 day, 1.5 days before it is taken up in the body. So that's the reason that we are using animal proteins. And also every pigeon individually, after the race, when they return, we give them a muscle power cap directly into the back. Why are we doing that? Because it is containing short chain amino acids like valine, leucine, isoleucine, which are very important to build up the muscles again after the race.
For the respiratory, could you suggest us some more tips?
So very often pigeons in the racing season have problems with respiratory, but we see very often that they do the same lofts every year who has the same problems. So which means that it is a problem in 2 parts. So you have firstly the disease or the infection, and secondly you have also the ventilation on the loft. If the ventilation is not good, you can treat, and a few weeks later it is coming back. So it means that you have always to look also to the ventilation, that it's not too many or too much, and that the pigeons are not sitting in the air in the draught, because then pigeons are getting cold and they get infected very easy. And once the ventilation on the loft is good and you give the pigeons a good treatment with the correct antibiotic, then every problem will be solved. And afterwards, if pigeons are healthy, they can build up on a natural way a top condition. Also, lofts which are having every year problems with respiratory, it is very important to look if there is not a combination with a herpes infection, because if herpes virus is involved, we advise also to vaccinate the pigeons before the racing season with a combination vaccine, herpes and paramyxovirus.
If you like our video, please like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.